Hi, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Angie Knows. I'm a mixed media textile artist and an online educator. Another week has come and gone, and I didn't get to spend as much time in the studio as I would have liked. Of course, I spent a lot of time, as usual, working on my online classes, and I'll talk about that a little bit more at the end of the video. But for now, I do want to show you what I was able to get done in the studio. So let's go and do just that. If you remember this piece from last week, I wanted to go back and add some more color to it and add some more rust. I thought it needed to be a little bit stronger, so that's what I did. Now let's take a look at how it turned out. So here's the teal and rust piece. On the screen it looks a little washed out to me, but in real life the color is a lot stronger, and I'm really happy with it. And I know I'll be using this color again with the rust. And here are all three pieces together. Starting at the top, that's the blue that has more of an indigo-ish color. It has a little bit of gray tone. In the middle is the brighter blue, and on the bottom is the teal piece. And remember how I said last week that they have a different look on each side? Let's take a look at the other side right now. And here's the other side. You know, sometimes it's really hard for me to decide which side I like the best. Do I like the more subtle side, or do I like the darker side that has a little bit more visual interest? I think they both have their place, and it depends on how the piece will be used, but I like them both. But sometimes I like one side better, and sometimes I like the other side better. So next I want to show you a project that I've been working on off and on for a few weeks, maybe a month, that I finally finished this week. So let me do that. So this next piece is a small art quilt that I created. It's 12 by 12 inches, and I created it for an organization that I belong to called SAQA. That's S-A-Q-A, and it stands for Studio Art Quilt Associates. SAQA is a nonprofit organization, and their mission, as stated on their website, is to promote the art quilt, which is a creative visual work that is layered and stitched, or that references this form of stitched layered structure. So their goal is to have the art quilt be viewed as a fine art object, just like paintings and sculpture and other fine art. Every year, SAQA has a fundraising effort they call the benefit auction. And the funds raised from this auction goes to support member programs for exhibitions and outreach programs. Members create and donate a 12 by 12 art quilt to be auctioned off. A lot of the SAQA members will bid on each other's work, and some people have started becoming collectors of each other. But the auction is also open to the public. So this piece I created, what I really love about it, it combines some of my favorite processes. And the first one is itajime shibori, which is the folding and clamping of fabric before dyeing. And of course it includes dyeing, which I consider the act of adding color to the fabric with paint, dye, or rust. The next process I included is printing, and I think of that as adding pattern through various printing methods. In this case, I screen printed using a rust paste that I concocted. And the final process is stitching, which I consider to be adding texture with either hand or machine stitching. In this case, I did a shit ton of hand stitching. I used to do a lot of hand stitching when I was a young girl back in middle school, but of course, having a full Air Force career and raising a family, I didn't have time for that, but I've rediscovered it and I find it to be so relaxing. Another thing about the time I spend hand stitching, it gets me away from the computer. If I don't have things to get me away from the computer, I can be there from the time I get up to the time I go to bed, and I know that's not good. So I really appreciate the hand stitching giving me that opportunity to step back and just sit back and relax a bit. So this piece started out as a 14 by 14 inch piece of white fabric. It was then accordion folded both ways into a square, and then I clamped it with a piece of wood diagonally across the square, and then added the same blue paint that I've used in the last two projects. After the piece was dry, I screen printed a small texture pattern that you see in the background using the rust paste. And then I added hand stitching and trimmed it down to the 12 by 12 size. I'm really glad I got to create this piece because for the past 2 years I hadn't been able to submit anything for the benefit auction, and I do like supporting the SAQA organization because I personally get so much out of being a member. Well, that's all of the artwork that I accomplished in the studio this week. The rest of my time was spent on my online course, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video. The courses that I'm working on right now is a series called Design to Cut, and in this series I focus on learning to use Inkscape to create designs for your electronic cutting machines. Inkscape is a free vector-based drawing program, very similar to Illustrator, but I like the price of Inkscape much better. Now, I use Inkscape when I'm designing for my cutting machine and for other designs as well. It's just not restricted to the cutting machines. And I've made this course available for free because if you take the individual courses instead of the master course, you really need this foundation on how to use Inkscape so that all of the other courses will make sense. If you're interested, you can check out the link in the description below and sign up for the course for free. And I hope to see you there. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful. If you did, I would appreciate it if you'd hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe so you won't miss any new videos I upload. I hope to see you back here again sometime soon, but until then, I wish you a beautiful, beautiful day. Bye-bye now.